with a duplex.
Right. I mean, I think the other option to obviously explore is just doing a single unit back here, because then your single unit is your ADU. You can, make it decent size and be more comfortable. You might get more rent for that single unit than you would one of your two duplex units. I'm sure you wouldn't get the revenue that you get from two smaller duplex units, but that you wouldn't need a development plan, and you could do the ADU, fairly easily on a lot this size in the back, and probably pretty easily comply with all these things.
What about a tiny home with an ADU separate? Would that still trigger a development plan?
Yeah, we have some provisions in our current zoning code for quote unquote tiny homes, but they're really envisioned to be part of like a campus, like a cluster of tiny homes, and there's like a minimum, you need like 20,000 square feet or something to do a cluster of tiny homes. So tiny homes really don't work. We do allow actually this provision in the code here. Sorry, bear with me. Oh, here it is. So these are the ADU requirements, and it does say prefabricated homes are permitted as long as they're placed on a foundation connected to utilities. So you can still do a modular ADU, and it can be as small as you want. I mean, there's really no minimum size where an ADU becomes a tiny home. It would just be considered a small ADU if you only wanted to do a 500 square foot one or whatever.
Yeah, but I can only go up to 700 square feet is what you're saying, right?
Your maximum, let's see again, maximum area, 50% of the principal structure or 1250, whichever is less. So 50% of the habitable, what did we say, this 1586 divided by 2, 793. So just under 800 square feet would be the max size of your ADU.
Okay. So just under 800 square feet?
Yeah, 793 is what I'm getting. And again, that's assuming these numbers in the assessor's data are correct. If you had some additional information that said, hey, this thing's actually, 2,000 square feet or something, then we could take that into consideration.
Right. So, okay, all right.
I mean, the other stuff, just to, it sounds like you've had these conversations before, but obviously extending utilities and, we do have some fees as far as like PLDO or parkland dedication fees and CDI fees. So, it sounds like you're aware of some of that stuff, but, some people that we talk with don't realize some of the complexity of doing an ADU or building something out in their backyard, but I'm guessing you're pretty familiar with some of those things.
Yeah, so my question would be, if I did the ADU, would I be able to tap off the existing? Because I think the utilities are in the alley on this one. So that should make it a little bit easier as far as not shutting down traffic control with the main street on Coachella there, huh?
I mean, I'm pretty sure I don't know off the top of my head whether you can just extend a connection from your principal structure or whether you need all new meters and connections. I actually don't think our zoning code spells that out. I think that's more of a utility standard issue. You could go talk with the development services folks at Colorado Springs Utilities. They could give you some more direction on that. But I can real quick here pull up some utility data and at least give you a snapshot here of where utilities are in relation to the back of your property. This just takes a second to load, so bear with me.
So even in an R5, you're you're still looking at the existing houses. There has to be, if you put another property there, then it has to be considered an ADU.
I mean, I guess, geez, that's a good question, Mike, that now that you say it out loud.
Because I was thinking different. I'm going to show you something else. This was probably in your area. I already own this property, but you know, the thing is the total amount of structures you can have, because the zoning codes is confusing to me if that's the case, because you can have up to 50% of impervious cover on an R5, and so that's why I was looking at this. I was going, why would that still be considered? If it's an R2 on Kucheras, I would understand the ADU model comes in effect, but you know, the codes were designed to maximize the use of the lot, and that would be restrictive if it didn't.
I guess as far as coverage is concerned, we often see smaller lots in R5, and so the code allows a higher proportion of coverage, because, you know, just a modest or average size home would cover a higher percentage of a small lot. But you do bring up a point in that I believe in R5, potentially you could do 2 single family homes, or heck, you could do, you know, 5 single family homes. But once you're more than 2 lots or 2 units, you flirt with, all of a sudden you're multifamily, hence the need for a development plan. What I might do is talk to some other folks and send you guys an email back to confirm, if you were limited to 2 units, could we just look at them both as principal structures or both as single family homes, neither of them being ADUs, and hence you could build them both as big as you wanted, as long as you met lot coverage and setbacks and those types of things.
Well, the reason why I say that, Ryan, is because I have a single family mod that I can put there.
Yeah.
It's 1,600 square feet. It's equal to the same size, but.
Well, let me talk to a couple folks and send you a note in follow up to confirm that. I don't want to definitively try to say one way or the other if that's feasible or not. So this is, hopefully you guys could see the utility map, and I think of note is you do have sanitary in the back. It's quite old. 1890 was when it was installed, so there could be some concern with new connections to that 130-year-old sanitary main. But your water is only off the front, it looks like. The water main only comes to about 714 and then stops in the alley.
Okay, so the red is the sewer?
Red is electric.
Okay.
So you probably got some overhead electric in the alley, it looks like. So the alley, all you've got is overhead electric and 130-year-old sanitary. In the front, along Kucharis, you have a slightly newer sanitary sewer from 1905. So that's only 120 years old. But you also have your water main, relatively new water main, 2001, and a gas main in Kucharis.
What were the colors for utilities and sewer?
Blue is water, green is sanitary sewer,
okay,
and yellow is gas.
Thank you.
So Ryan, tell me this, on 722, I'm 732.
Yeah,
right
you're
here.
728, I thought, right? 728.
Yeah. So where are they getting water at 722?
No idea. I mean, they have enough width that my guess is that their service just comes off of Kucharis, along the front there, to the east side of the principal structure. But the data that we have access to doesn't show specific service connections. It just shows the public infrastructure, the mains.
So would CSU have the more updated model?
Yeah, I mean, again, I would recommend before you get too far, going in and talking to development services at utilities and getting their thoughts on how you could build, whether it's an ADU or a duplex or whatever, how you could develop the north part of your property and provide utilities.
Yeah, with all the construction in there, my gut is that they have not updated because there's so many along this back alley that's being built right now. So I can't see them running all the utilities because I'm looking for patches in the street. And so the patches in the street would tell me how recent that is. And so I don't see many patches in the streets of Caceres that would indicate that they're coming off of that. So I'm wondering if they have just not updated the utility lines yet at CSU on the back half there.
It's possible. I mean, this property 736, it does have some building permit history over the last 10 years or so, but I don't see any building permit history for like a new ADU back here. Let's see what this one says.
Yeah, those are being built right now. I was there on Sunday or Saturday actually.
Yeah, this one, which is 740, does seem to show that in 2020, it looks like they're building like a new residence in the back.
Yes.
2023, actually, it looks like. But like I said, for some reason, regional building isn't showing similar information for this 736 property. I don't know why that is, but so it is possible, but again, there might be a scenario where they're bringing something off the front. I think the other thing to just keep in mind, Mike, as you're exploring your development potential, this whole campus up here, let me see if I can highlight this.
Yeah, it's been sold. They're about to do some development out there.
The vast majority of this, there's a couple that aren't right here, but the vast majority of this is owned by CS Residential, DDJ, LLC. That's all Norwood, local developer Norwood. And they have long-term plans. I have no idea when, but they do have long-term plans to redevelop the site. And some of that is like true redevelopment, like taking existing buildings and like they've talked about turning the old hospital building into apartments or condos, maybe building another floor or two on top, but primarily repurposing the existing buildings. The same with this, it's kind of a cool utility, kind of old powerhouse building down here that they would repurpose and some of this stuff as well, and the Gazette property. But some of these other areas, these parking lot areas, are likely to get redeveloped at some point with either apartments or townhomes or something. Probably multifamily residential would be my guess. And when that happens, they might have to be doing some utility improvements in these alleys as well. But again, I don't know, I wouldn't want you to like bank on that happening next year or something, because it could be 10 years from now. I don't know. Norwood's pretty slow and intentional with how they do development, and they acquired these properties probably 10 years ago, and they haven't done anything with them yet. So, but I guess I just thought I'd mention that because, there will be a significant like public process and probably a fair bit of media attention and stuff when they finally decide to start doing something here. You and all the other owners in this area will know about it.
Yeah, no, I never bank on long-term plans because the economy is coming. They expand, contract, and that changes everybody's plans. So I just look at what I can do today
Sure.
And if it works, great. If it doesn't, then I'm out. But yeah, I like I say, my hunch is with these new structures that have been built that I just don't see them coming all the way for an ADU all the way from the front there to the back. So I want to know how they have done that. I think CSU would know that, wouldn't they?
No, absolutely. If you go down to development services, and I believe they're in the Leon Young building down on Hancock, they should be able to tell you where those services come from and whether any improvements have been made in this alley recently that aren't showing up in my system. But
are they not on International Parkway?
No. Well, there is a utility office in there, but I don't think it's staffed regularly. I believe where you want to go is the Leon Young Service Center. Let me see if I can pull this up here.
Yeah. So while you're pulling it up, I gotta get that answer from you because look like I'm reading the code wrong or something, but I'm just seeing that impervious cover is 50%. So if it's a zone in R5, you're gonna knock me back down to an R2 type coverage for an ADU. That doesn't make sense to have R5 if everything is going to be built towards an R2.
Hold on, let me do one thing at a time here.
No, I'm just telling you while you're looking at that.
That's not right. Wait a second. Development services. I don't see an address on here. They just have phone numbers and emails. I believe you can go down to down off of Hancock to the Leon Young Service Center, but I guess I can confirm that. I already promised you I'd follow up with an email regarding the 2 single-family home issue, so I'll follow up on that as well. As far as your coverage, Mike, going back to R5, your lot coverage is 50%, but coverage is structural coverage. That's not imperviousness. That doesn't count your driveway or your pedestrian walkway. It's just of your 9,500 square feet of lot size, you're limited to 4725 or whatever of structures.
Yeah. No, it would be basically, that. So I got that in account. And so that would be structures such as sheds, garage, stuff like that. I get it. And so right now we're only at 900 square feet.
Plus your accessory structures.
Yeah, with the garage that we're going to tear down. So we've got really 3,000 or so more feet plus to do something with. So, that's where I get confused as far as, there's something disconnect, gray area there that isn't defined really carefully in the code to me to let me know, because elementary math tells me, okay, I got 3,000 more feet of structures or so to build that I can build as long as I can get parking and all the other things required. But when you say an ADU in the back, I'm like, well, that is the classification of an R2, which what's the purpose of rezoning to R5 if that's not the case?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. But it would all come down to the question of, can you do two homes, two principal structures, both of which are single family dwellings? Because then, yeah, your front one might be small, but you could do a much bigger structure, home, dwelling unit in the back. You probably won't. You probably won't. I mean, to be honest, we don't normally. It's rare that people bump into, whether it's in the R5 or the R2. Lot coverage is not a common obstacle to meeting on most residential lots, because we allow pretty high percentage of coverage.
Right. Yeah, and so this here, if I even add in the duplex, which is 2,300 square feet, even if I left the garage in place, I'm still below the minimum coverage, right?
Yeah. I mean, those coverage limits are more pertinent when you're dealing with, a property like these guys, small lots with average to modest size homes. Like these guys might be bumping into a 50% lot coverage. They're getting probably close, but we don't want to. If someone's only got a 4,000 square foot lot that has been that way for 100 years, we don't want to limit them to only being able to build a 700 square foot house like that. We want them to be able to use their property. So that's kind of what drives that percent coverage limitation.
No, and I get it. That's why I said it doesn't. There's so much gray there. It doesn't clearly define to me that the purpose of rezoning something or putting an R5 coverage on a blanket on something is to get more density of housing. So when we go back to an ADU, I'm thinking in my head, well, why in the heck would you go back to that level when it should be, you could have just put a coverage of R2 on that particular lot and said, this is your restrictions, So I don't know where the disconnect is. My hunch is that we can probably do the duplex, but I don't know why it would trigger a major development plan per se, but, because it's, two residentials basically at 3 units rather than 5 units. So yeah, if you can find that out for me, if I can get the answer sooner than later, because I'm under contract and it determines what next moves I make.
Yeah. I'll compare notes with a few other folks and send you guys a write-up here addressing a few things. One is the 3 units really considered multifamily and therefore you need a development plan? Question 2 would be, could you do 2 single families instead of a single family in an ADU? And question 3 is, how do you get more information on your utility scenario off the alley in particular? So I'll make sure I cover those 3 things and shoot you guys an email within the next 20.
The other question, Ryan, would be, if I put a duplex in the alley, could I call the house an ADU?
Well, we talked through that, right? And we decided it was too big.
No, that was a single family house. So the duplex will be 2,300 square foot, which half of that gives you roughly, I don't even know if you guys are using the basement square footage or just the impervious cover, because if it's the impervious cover, it's only 900 square feet. You see what I'm saying?
So you said the duplex is 32.76.
Oh, and hold on just a second. So impervious cover up and down, that's just the footprint of the house, right? So which is 900 square feet or so. So is that the actual figure that they're using, or are they using the total square footage of the house? Because when I look at impervious cover, it's only 900, which is less than half of the size of the duplex.
You gotta separate those 2 standards. The 50% lot coverage standard is simply plan view looking straight down. What's the width times depth of your structures, and that's your coverage, right? That's how you calculate the impervious coverage, not impervious, the coverage limit, that 50%. This standard that deals with floor area deals specifically with habitable area. It is not talking about coverage. It's talking about the maximum area, inhabitable area of the principal structure relative to the ADU. So that it doesn't matter if you have a tiny little house, a footprint, and it's 3 stories tall. We got to calculate the habitable area, not the width times depth.
Okay. So, again, my question would be, there's a setback of 15 feet from the alley, right? Am I correct?
Your rear setback is 15 feet for the principal structure.
Okay, so 15 feet. So, yeah, I have 2 single-family home lots that I could put there, and the 2 single families are basically 1,100 square feet apiece. So, yeah, I'm trying to find a way to get as much coverage as I can of the actual living per square foot there. So that would be 1,500 plus 1,100. So 1,500 plus 2,200, that would be 3,700 square feet. So I'm still under that minimum, even if you're looking top down.
Yep. But, I believe if you're bringing the site that is today a single family home and you're converting it to 3 units, in most scenarios, we're calling that multifamily. And I can explore, we talked about, is the duplex in the back your principal structure, the existing single family become an ADU? Maybe, but you run into some size limits. But if you're doing 2 or 3 single family homes, let's say 3 single family homes, yeah, you might meet your 50% lot coverage, but you're multifamily now. You're 3 units on 1 lot. That's multifamily. You need a development plan.
Yeah, well, I mean, I get what you're saying, but like I say, I used to do this in Texas a lot, and I've been doing it here, but we've been doing the ADUs type situations. But this is an R5, and so what I like to do is, I mean, my lender or bank calls a multifamily anything over 4 units, right?
Well, that's different than what Colorado Springs zoning calls multifamily.
So yeah, so I guess to explore 722 on how they got theirs done, because that's 4 units there too. So, if they did, can you pull up a development plan? Do they have over there?
They don't have a development plan, but one of their buildings was built in 1903 and the other one in 1894. So my assumption is that the buildings were built long before zoning regulations, and they were probably converted into this one here that has 3 dwelling units in it. Was probably converted prior to the 1950s, before our modern zoning regulations.
Okay. Yeah, because it looks like almost a brand new building to me. So, and I spent probably an hour over there. So,
well, we don't have any entitlement history for that property.
Okay. All right. Well, if you can get me the answers to that, I would appreciate it, because that's a little, like I said, that's in that gray zone that I just don't know about. And, I'll give you an example. I went to pull a permit on my Chestnut property. It has 5 lots, 5 25 by 150 lots. Well, I combined 2 of the lots at the tax assessor's office and got a new address. Well, I went to pull a permit, and they said, hey, all you did was do that for tax purposes, and since you did it for tax purposes, now you're going to have to replat the property, which is another 4 to 5 months. And I'm like, wait a minute. I didn't have to do that on my Bush property, which was 3 lots, and I just separated. They had 3 legal descriptions, and I just redid that at the tax office, and I didn't. So, it's confusing to me because I'm thinking I was doing the same thing, and then he hits me. Well, you can't pull a permit until you get a replat. I'm like,
I
why?
mean, just
They were
for
already
future,
5 lots.
reference, what you need to get a building permit is a whole platted lot. Your legal description that we pull up via the assessor's office needs to show that you're a single whole platted lot. And if your legal description says you're like this guy to the west of you, I believe, bear with me, like he's lot 21 except for 25 feet of lot 22, like his legal description's no good. He's going to have to address that. If he were to build something new, he's got to either replat or do something called a waiver replat. If your lot description says lots 3, 4, and 5 of the such and such subdivision, again, you gotta take subdivision action. If you buy a property and it says your legal description is lots 3, 4, and 5, but you go down to the assessor and you break that into 3 separate pieces, as long as those pieces each have a description that says it's just lot 3 or just lot 4, then you can get a building permit for those lots. But when we're reviewing building permits, we need to make sure that your legal description is one whole platted lot.
Yeah. No, when I did a pre-app, they didn't tell me that. So I only caught that at permitting time. And so, because I went over my plan several times with 2 different people, and I was like, well, okay, here's what I need to do. But got ready to pull the permit, and that's when it was made aware to me that. So I know for future purposes, I'll just file the waiver up front as soon as I close or right beforehand. That way I know.
Yeah, or make the seller do it. I mean, you can put a condition on your contract. The seller's got to get a waiver replat to legalize their legal description. That can always be something that gets, and those don't take that long if it is eligible for a waiver replat. If you have to do a full replat, yeah, that's a pretty slow and significant process. But if you're eligible for a waiver replat, that's 6 weeks or 2 months or something. It's pretty easy.
What would make you eligible? Because it took 4 months on my last property.
You have to be single family residential is eligible for a waiver replat. If you're doing anything for multifamily or commercial or office, then you're not eligible for a waiver replat. You have to go through that full replat process. The other thing is, even if you are eligible, you're a single family situation, you have to show that the legal description has been in place since like before the 50s. So you got to go down to the clerk and recorder in the assessor's office and provide documentation that legal description has been in place since before our subdivision standards existed. And if it has, then great, we'll do the waiver replat. But if someone 20 years ago just carved a piece of property in half or combined a bunch of properties and partial properties together, then you're not eligible and you got to do a full replat.
Yeah, this a lot of the older areas, this property's been done before the 50s, so I'm
sure,
really
absolutely.
All right, so one last question here. Can you pull up the address of 3026 North Hancock? It may or may not be your area, but since I got you on, it might be the same thing I'm gonna deal with that I might just address now up front. So 3026 North Hancock.
Yeah.
Is that your area?
Real close. I think it might be right on the boundary of my area. Bear with me. There it is. Yeah, it is. It's literally on the boundary of my area. So yeah, this is in my geographic area.
Yeah, I can kill 2 birds with 1 stone here. So right here, this property right below 3022, okay? these are both zone R5s. I own the 3026. The guy below me, just south, owns that one. So that is an ADU with the garage attachment in the back. Okay.
Yeah.
So it looked like our lots are about the same. So my lot is 80 by 120, which is roughly 9,600 square feet.
Yep.
So with that said, what I like to do is this, and I want to find out the easiest way from you on how to do this. If you go back on that, I'll show you.
Just take note of that I just highlighted for future reference.
So is that going to require the
Oh, okay.
waiver, the plat waiver?
Yeah. Unless one's been done in the past, which doesn't show up in our system. So, at one point in time when these were historically platted 100 and some years ago, this was intended for two lots. There would have been a house here and a house here, but they've been combined. So now your lots 17 and 18. But yeah, size-wise, you got plenty of size, and you could do an ADU. You could do some other stuff there. I mean,
Well,
it's a very similar situation to your Kuchar's property.
Okay, well, let me ask you. Here's what I plan on doing. So the minimum lot size to face a city street is 50 feet, right?
Okay, sure.
No, I'm asking you. I want to make sure if that's the case. I think it's 50 feet, right?
Minimum lot width in the R5 is 50 feet, yes.
Okay. So I couldn't do two lots, but what I could do is, and this is what I want to run by you. So you see where 3022, you see where the ADU is in the back there?
Yep.
So it's almost as big as the whole house, basically, with the garage in there. But I was thinking, I was go ahead and put a house back here. My house size is 1,000. Well, it's right at 1,100 square feet. And so I was going to put it in the rear and then just later on do a flag lot to make that lot a separate lot later on. But I was going to go ahead and just do the ADU in the back or the house in the back. What problems or what do you see with that on the approach of that?
I think your primary problem off the top of my head is
now that's zone R5 too.
So. Bear with me here. I think your problem, and for some reason I'm struggling to find the table here.
Are you looking for the flag lot requirements?
No, here's what I'm looking for, I think. Yeah, here it is. Oh, well, you could potentially do that, because I was thinking this was going to be 5,000, but it's actually 4,000. You need 4,000 square feet to do that's your minimum lot size in the R5 for a single family home. Right. So you do have enough square footage to potentially subdivide that into two pieces. I just have I question a little bit the lot width relative to the flag lot scenario. I mean, I guess you could theoretically have an easement coming down the side being your flag stem. So that way both lots are technically 50 feet wide, but I'd encourage you to do a separate pre-app for that if that's something you're hoping to do. Cut this in two. You'd have to, there'd be a lot of care in how you draw those lines to meet your setbacks, like your rear setback for this existing structure, as well as your front setback for any new structure here. and still making sure that each lot had 50 feet of width and 4,000 square feet of square footage?
Well, if you do the flag lot though, Ron, you need 20 feet in the front for the flag portion, the pole portion. But Tamara said you don't have to really worry about the width of the lot because it doesn't really face the city street. That's the purpose of doing the flag lot.
But if that flag stem is taking up 20 feet of your frontage, then you no longer have 50 feet for the non-flag lot.
Yeah, it's 80 feet wide.
Oh, this is 80 feet wide?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. 80,
Okay.
120, 80 by
Gotcha.
120.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Well, it sounds like you got it figured out. Seems like it could be a deal. As a plat, you need a surveyor, and I'd recommend you to have a new pre-app with your surveyor if you decide to pursue that.
Okay. All right. Well, I will. That's what I wanted to tell you. This is the kind of stuff I own. I own several properties in these areas, and so I kind of study your code here pretty intensely, and so that's why I was looking at it. I just said, well, I have 80 feet, so if I give up 20 to the flag, I still got 60 left. Which makes now I don't know if you count the flag, the pole portion of the lot.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna try to figure out as well. Is I worry whether that counts towards your minimum lot size or not.
Well, at the very least, I have 5,600 of square feet to play with. Because if the existing house, if I made it 4,000 square feet, I have 5,600 still to play with. Wouldn't that be a technical answer there?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this last sentence says the stem portion of the flag lot shall also provide practical vehicle utility access and allow for adequate utility service, and shall not be counted towards minimum lot area requirements of the zone district. So you just need to subtract that out, and as long as the flag stem is less than 500 square feet, you should be in okay shape.
Okay. So what would I do? Well, I don't have to put it as far back as possible. I can put it back shorten that stem pole as short as I want to, could I? The pole portion.
I would assume you could have your flag stem, but problem is, as soon as you start jogging over, if you were to, let me see if I can draw something on here. Like if you were to do something like this, I guess the question would be, yeah, you've got 50 feet of width here, but is that really the lot width, or is the lot width this? And what's the lot, if you're building a new home back here, you've limited the size of your flag stem to less than 500 square feet to make sure each lot has 4,000, but are you really meeting lot width for both of these? I don't know. It gets tricky.
Doesn't the lot width for 50 feet requirement, isn't that only the the street facing part?
I mean, maybe, but I'm just not, what would prevent someone from having you have 50 feet of lot of adjacency to a right of way, and then just bringing this down and having a really narrow thing. I don't think that's the intent. I'd have to go through the code and try to figure that out a little bit. I'm guessing that might be in definitions here.
Okay. Well, no, I mean, I bought the house. It was a good deal anyway, but I know that at the very least I can do what the neighbor has done, which is another property on the back of it. I just think for future reference, I might as well position it in a way that I can make it a flag lot in the future.
Yes. I don't know what, here it is, lot width. Minimum horizontal distance between the side lot lines measured along a straight line, most parallel to the front lot line at the front setback. So, so you have to, your flag stem, would it need to be at least, what is it, 15 feet for the R5? Is that what we talked about?
I thought it was 20.
Feet, yeah.
20 feet for the front, for the R5 in the front. So you'd have to have at least 20-foot deep flag stem.
Oh, okay. Which will be 400 feet, right?
20 by 20, yep. Yep.
Okay. So at 400 feet, you subtract that for that, you're still at 9,200 square feet to work with.
Yeah, something like that. You could probably make it work. I would just, again, anytime you're replatting, you need a surveyor, so you might as well, start figuring out who you'd want to work with and how to best draw those lines to meet code and have the most desirable, marketable properties.
Yeah, no, I'm just going. Right now, I assume I could pull the permit to build an ADU or some kind of other structure. I mean, does this violate again if I put an 1,100 square foot house back there? Does that violate anything again, or is that the same answer that we're going to need to get?
Same answer we're going to need to get, because I think if we're going to call that new structure in the back an ADU, then it's limited in size to probably 750 feet or whatever it is. But if we call it a second principal structure, which is maybe what happened here, but again, that's something I got to double check on.
Okay. All right. Well, okay. Well, yeah, if you can give me those answers, I would, if that's in your area, I mean, I'll do a separate pre-app. Is that in your area?
Well, it is in my area, but let me answer the global question of 2 or 3 single family homes on an R5 lot and send you that. And I think that will be helpful to both your Kucharis and your Hancock property.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. I just, that, like I said, that's the gray area for me. I'm sure it's gray for you guys too, but yeah. So let's define that, and it's just going to help me buy better properties, because I know you guys just went through the retool COS, and so they're still trying to figure out some things too, so.
Absolutely. I knew the old code real well. I'm still learning the new code. So, and some of these things, there's a lot of finesse in how exactly the language reads and how other planners are, applying these things. We just want to make sure we're being consistent from one person to another.
Yeah, because I have the, if that's 20 feet, so 20, and so if the flag's got to be 20, then the setback is 15. That's 35. The lot is 120 deep, so that technically puts me at, let me see here, 120. So 120 minus
85.
Yeah, so 85. So technically my duplex, which is 76 long, would fit there, because I would be in the setbacks, or I would meet the requirements. But we got to answer the global question too. So
yeah. Well, let me dig into it a little bit. I'll try to get you some direction in the next 24 hours or so.
Okay. Thank you, John.
All right, thank you. We'll be in touch.